We have been conditioned and taught through belief systems that to be a soul means you're automatically human, or you're automatically within a mind, a body, and a spirit experience. The thought process implies that a soul is not subject to evolution, but everything that we know from a micro scale to a macro scale is subject to evolution. So then the question becomes, why would that be any different from a soul? We humanize God. We humanize the one. We even humanize the idea of the universe. And I think we humanize it, at least, I humanize things because it does help us understand things better, sure. But to humanize the grand totality of everything, of infiniteness, right, would be foolish. It would just be absolutely foolish. So we have to understand, like, when we humanize things, it's okay, but we also have to understand that when we humanize the idea of something or understanding something, we are placing limits on something that is limitless, okay? And I think right now we just lack the comprehension and ability to really comprehend what infinite totality is. We're not there yet. We're infants in that level of understanding. So if you can imagine this infinite, endless, cosmic tree, right? Tree of life. And at the very top of this tree, just imagine there being like this light or this ball of energy or whatever. And we're going to call that the one supreme being of all, infinite totality. So at one point within endless time, the one supreme being of all decided it wanted to experience itself. It wanted to learn and understand itself. So in order to do so, it had to do two things. It had to experience outside of itself. And in order to do that, it had to be able to create. In order to do those two things, the best way that I can explain it, or that we can kind of comprehend it, is it had to separate from itself. It had to fraction itself from itself. At that point in time, which who knows how long ago that was, right? Because the universe is like 13 billion years old. Just this universe. When the one fractioned itself from itself, that's when souls were created. In the very beginning, when the one fragmented itself from itself and souls were created, the first phase, and I always slash that with dimension because it's a very common word, of our soul's evolution started with what they called polarization of beingness. And when I tried to understand polarization of beingness, the answer that I was given was it's simply beingness separate from source, separate from totality, and it's experienced through what we would know as like elements, or anything that would be comparable in this universe to what we would know elements to be on Earth. Once this phase of a soul's evolution is complete, we evolve to the next phase, the second phase, second dimension, and we experience that as awareness of beingness, very comparable to what we know as like plant life and some animal life. And the lessons within this experience grants us an ability to evolve further in understanding the internal self. Once you experience that for so long, you graduate to creative consciousness and awareness of beingness. And that's where they inserted terms like mind, body, spirit experience, right? And that's where we're at now. Like, break that term down. It's you have a mind, you have a body, a physical body, and you have a spirit. You have an essence about you. They went on and said the lessons within this phase is basically creative choice. Very much more complex than the first two phases, of course, but it allows a soul to consciously create and make choices. So keep in mind, in order to consciously create, not only must there be an illusion of separation, so we still have this illusion of separation from ourselves, from self, from God, from the one supreme being of all, but it does also require there to be a vast amount of diversity and dualism that's required, right? They went on to say that when experiencing the third phase or dimension of a soul's evolution, there's basically two choices within this experience. You can choose to be in service to the world around you, or beneficial to the world around you, right? The other fragmented souls that you interact with. Or you can choose the opposite, again, polarization, which is choosing to create in a service to self kind of way. Equally important to remember is that, like, when you make a choice to be of service to others, the soul is granted the opportunity for the internal awakening of consciousness to occur. So You're going through this whole evolution, and you may choose to do and create in service to the self for a long time until you come to that point where you choose the other and you choose to be of service to the world around you and the other fragmented souls of yourself, right? But when you make that choice finally at one point in time and space to be of service to other people, that's what allows this internal awakening of consciousness to occur. Once this awakening occurs within the third phase there, and that choice is made to be of service to others, the soul has the ability to start to graduate to the fourth dimension, fourth phase. And that is a phase of where they keep using the term like heart-centered awareness, unity, wholeness. And I think they describe it in that way, heart-centered awareness, because that's what we understand as love. That's what we understand as unity. That's what we understand as compassion and wholeness. The fourth phase is the last phase of soul evolution, where we are in the physical, in that matter, where it's mind, it's body, and spirit. We collectively are entering that fourth phase currently as of 2023. In the fourth phase, what happens is it allows the mind aspect to expand into further depths of the internal awakening of creation throughout all time and space. And they said specifically, this is where timeline shifting or multiple timeline awareness can be lived and experienced. That is really important. I'm going to say that again. In the fourth phase of a soul's evolution, it allows the mind to expand into further depths of its internal awakening of creation throughout time and space, where timeline shifting and multi-timeline awareness can be lived and experienced. We're not entering the fifth dimension, and this is why I believe that to be true. They went on and said that we enter into the fifth phase or dimension of a soul's evolution in a non-human, non-physical way as beings of enlightenment. So the fifth phase, fifth dimension, is beings of enlightenment, and that is where the term light being derives from. These souls have then evolved to a point to assist all the other souls that are still in the third and fourth phase of their soul's evolution. The purpose of this experience or this phase, it develops a method by which a soul becomes a master teacher, and you're still linked with direct interaction and communication with those on the third and fourth dimension, third and fourth phase. Very comparable to what we call ascended masters, spirit guides, master teachers, right? We do that for a little while. Then we evolve to the sixth phase. The sixth phase of a soul's evolution consists of a much more complex but similar task oriented compared to the fifth, because in this part of your soul's evolution, you have gained the ability to oversee and assist those in the fifth. So in the sixth phase, they're assisting the fifth phase, who are assisting the third and the fourth phase. And I often refer those souls to be very comparable to the council, because they're like grouped together to assist the process of those who are guiding in the fifth as master teachers and helping those that are still in the fourth and fifth dimension, right? It's a fucking link. Then you have the seventh phase. And in this particular phase, I find it very interesting because they said that we compare this to the Akashic records. But at this point in your soul evolution, you operate in all time and space as pure and complete knowledge of creation and the self. So you've graduated at the seventh phase to a point where you're operating as a part of the fabric of all creation and the self. At this level, you've gained the ability to assist everybody in the sixth and the fifth, and it trickles down. And the eighth phase is actually very important. That's when a soul has another choice, because the soul can either return to the one, also known as the ninth phase, right? Absolute oneness and totality, or it can choose to become a creator of their own universe, because it's gone through this whole evolution. Now it can be a creator of its whole universe. Obviously, it does happen, and that's why we have multiverses. And the cosmic tree of life has been growing ever since.